You who hears these words, listen with the intent to act. For what I lay before you is not a mere philosophy to admire, but a discipline to be lived. Turn your laziness into your greatest strength, and you will discover that the very trait you once despised, the reluctance to waste effort on fruitless pursuits, can become the engine that drives you beyond your imagined limits. I speak to you as a craftsman, speaks to an apprentice who has wandered in the workshop, who has allowed comfort to become a cradle and distraction to masquerade as productivity. Your laziness, if rightly understood, is not your adversary. It is your raw material. It is the mineral from which you will smelt a sharper, more purposeful self. The law I bring you is the same law that has turned deserts into orchards and days into lifetimes. Energy follows attention. Attention follows intention. And intention, when anchored in action, creates results that the idle mind cannot fathom. Desire is the spark, and desire is always bound to a definite aim. In the modern world, your aim cannot be a vague aspiration. It must be a bold, audacious objective that aligns with a personal brand that you would be willing to stake your name upon in the quiet hours of the night and the busiest hours of the day. Laziness will try to whisper, aim lower, aim comfortable, aim safe. But this is not the voice of wisdom. It is the voice of a man who has learned to weigh his energy against a clock and call that balanced success. Your goal must be clear enough to be measurable, dramatic enough to require discipline, and intimate enough to be personal. An objective that demands you to rise before dawn and stay awake long enough to outrun the noise of the world. If your desire is not yet crisp, fashion it until it shines in your mind as though carved in steel. If you cannot see it, you cannot become it. If you cannot believe it, you will not pursue it. If you cannot act on it, it will vanish like mist when the sun is high. Turn your laziness into energy by giving it a target that will not tolerate half measures. The next move is faith. Not blind faith, but faith tested by micro. Wailings of reality and proven by micro. Commitments you make and keep. Faith is a decision, and then it is a daily practice. The modern battlefield is not merely the boardroom or the factory floor. It is the inner terrain of your own mind. Faith is your conviction that the plan you have chosen is the plan that will work. And faith is the discipline to prove it true through consistent action. You do not wait for proof to act. You act to create proof. In your world of rapid trials where AI can accelerate your thinking yet not your courage, faith is not a wavering hope. It is a deliberate alignment of belief with evidence you cultivate. It is the habit of expecting the next small victory, and then the next, until a cascade of successes becomes a current you are swept along by. When laziness tempts you with cynicism or resignation, let faith be your counterforce, your engine of persistence, your most faithful ally, autosuggestion. That cornerstone of Hill's philosophy is not a superstition, but a neuroscientific proposition dressed in the language of purpose. Your mind is a garden, and the words you water it with are seeds. If you water it with fear or doubt, you will harvest weeds that choke your growth. If you water it with precise, daily affirmations, visualized outcomes, and emotionally charged rehearsals of the day to come, you are sowing saplings that will one day grow into trees, capable of supporting your entire life. The modern reimagining of autosuggestion is not whispered incantations, but deliberate cognitive reprogramming. You design a script of identity, and you're rehearsing it until it becomes habitual, until the mind's weather grows calm under the pressure of reality, and the body follows with decisive, automatic action. When your energy is spent on reinforcing your best self rather than fighting your weaknesses, laziness ceases to be a burden and becomes a tool, an instrument to orchestrate routines, to construct environments, to sculpt routines that keep you moving Your laziness will tempt you to isolate, to hoard your best ideas, to retreat into the comfort of solitary work, where you can pretend to be productive without the friction of disagreement. But Hill's mastermind requires the courage to surround yourself with voices that challenge you to unbecome your small self and to become the person you were meant to be. In this era, asynchronous collaboration is a virtue, not a defect. A truly powerful mastermind is a system, a living, breathing ecosystem of accountability, feedback, conflict, and shared outcomes. It is a place where no single mind is sovereign. It is the arena where your ideas are tested against the iron of other minds, where the friction of disagreement purifies your plans and the diverse perspectives of your partners catalyze faster, more robust results. To build such a network, you must first decide what you will contribute, the exact value you will deliver to your partners, before you demand what the circle will do for you. Then you must cultivate trust, speak with candor, give and take with grace, hold others to high standards, and refuse to permit comfort to dull your ambition. The mastermind becomes your ally in turning laziness from an inward retreat into an outward mission. You do not hide from the work. You invite the world to share in it. Desire, faith, and autosuggestion must be married to planning. For planning is the practical arm of faith and the tool by which desire is measured and molded into action. Planning is not the dull, bureaucratic reading of a dry spreadsheet. It is the art of building a bridge from intention to reality. It is the rigorous mapping of steps, the forecasting of bottlenecks, the design of contingencies, and the daily decision of what you will do next, without fail. In this modern age, planning must accommodate the pace of technology and the scale of opportunity. You plan with explicit milestones that align with your metrics. You plan with adaptive cycles that allow you to course correct as feedback arrives. You plan with redundancy so that a single disruption cannot derail your entire enterprise. Laziness loves excuses. Planning loves reality checks. When the plan is written with the earnestness of a craftsman who knows the value of his own time, laziness is domesticated, not defeated. It becomes the tempo, the rhythm, the heartbeat of a disciplined life. Action is the natural child of desire, faith, autosuggestion, and planning. It is the roaring engine beneath the hood of your intentions. The modern world offers you infinite resources and infinite distractions. The challenge is to direct your energy toward action that yields durable results rather than fleeting excitement. Action is not the impulsive sprint of the moment. It is the sustained pace of a long-distance runner who knows the route, who has drilled the body to endure, who has rehearsed the finish line so often that crossing it becomes inevitable. Laziness seeks the path of least resistance. Action chooses the path of most persistent practice. It chooses to sit with the unglamorous tasks, the long hours of coding, the patient editing of a proposal, the quiet hours of reading and reflection, the unglamorous conversations with teammates where you iron out differences, the daily grind of experimentation with prototypes and hypotheses. The modern practitioner of Hill's philosophy does not despise the small acts. He recognizes that every small act is a brick laid in a wall that will someday imprison doubt and shelter certainty. Each action is a vote for a future. You want more than your present comfort. Each action is an investment whose interest compounds as you sleep, as you travel, as you teach, as you lead. To the action we add persistence, the stubborn, serene insistence that does not bow to temporary failure or the mockery of the crowd. In a world where notifications ping like fireflies and algorithms reward novelty, persistence is a counter-current of quiet strength. It is the daily decision to show up again after a setback, to reframe a failure as data rather than defeat, to revise your plan not as a sign of defeat, but as a marked map showing you where you must go next. The lazy mind interprets obstacles as reasons to stop. The Hillian mind, recast for the modern era, interprets obstacles as invitations to innovate, to adapt, to improvise, to outthink, and to outlast. It is not the absence of obstacles that distinguishes the successful. It is the refusal to be permanently displaced by them. The next universe of power is the economy of value, the law of over-delivery, in a world starved for meaning and hungry for authenticity. Here we return to laziness's paradox. The very impulse to do less can become the most exquisite capacity to do more. The modern Hillian learns to convert effort from the sprint to the marathon, from the mere completion of tasks to the creation of enduring value, from chasing applause to creating results that outlast the moment. In an attention economy, your reputation becomes your currency. The more you deliver beyond expectation, the more opportunities knock with a respectful insistence. The habit of over-delivery is a discipline that refuses to let you shrink into the cynicism that laziness loves. It asks you to design your work so that it carries your signature, so that your name is not merely a tag on a result, but a guarantee that the next time you show up, you will bring something more refined, more useful, more transformative than last time. Ethics and social impact must braid together with ambition, for the modern Hillian cannot rise by trampling the weak or ignoring the wounds of the world. Integrity is not a hindrance to success. Integrity is the structure that keeps success from becoming hollow. The path of the lazy mind leads to shortcuts that erode trust and fracture communities. The path of the disciplined mind leads to durable alliances, to partnerships built on transparency, accountability, and mutual uplift. When your enterprise grows, you have a responsibility not only to your bottom line, but to the people who rely on you, to the communities you touch, to the ecosystems you influence. The true measure of greatness is not the height you reach in isolation, but the width of your influence, the extent to which your actions lift others and sustain the moral order of your work. In the 21st century, the fastest way to accelerate your ascent is to align your growth with the well-being of others, to turn your personal ambition into a vehicle for collective flourishing, to transform your comfort into catalysts for the comfort of those who share your world. The language you use shapes the reality you inhabit. Hill spoke with the cadence of ancient oratory, and you must speak with clarity and electricity in a language tuned to the rhythms of today. Parallel structures, triads, and purposeful repetition anchor your mind and the minds of your listeners. The cadence should feel like a drumbeat, pulsing, purposeful, and never empty. When you utter phrases that crystallize your aim, you invite the world to reflect your intention back at you. When you articulate your self-image as a creator of value, the world begins to see you as such, and the environment rearranges itself to reflect the image you project. Use metaphor and image to break the gravity of fear and to lift your audience into a vision that is visible, tactile, and irresistible. The mind becomes a quantum engine. The brand you cultivate becomes ignition. The mastermind network becomes a living nervous system that breathes with you. The decision to act becomes a turning of the key in a lock that has waited too long to open. And now, with the discipline of a modern scientist and the soul of a Renaissance artisan, you must construct a daily ritual that reinforces the entire architecture of your ascent. Start with a precise, audacious, measurable desire each morning, a goal you would declare to your future self in a moment of reflection, a goal aligned to your deepest purpose and to a service you are uniquely positioned to provide. Write it on your whiteboard or in a journal that you treat with the reverence of a sacred manuscript. Read it aloud with conviction, then translate it into a micro-action that you can complete within the first hour, the first critical window, where energy is highest and momentum is still in your favor. This is the bridge between thought and reality. This is the engine that converts intention from a whisper into a shout that others can hear and follow. In the late hours, when the screens glow and the world seems to drift toward distraction, You will summon the same ritual with even greater precision. You will review the day, not to judge yourself, but to extract data, to determine what worked, what did not, and why. You will log your micro wins, count your small failures as data points, and reframe your plan with the patience of a master mechanic tuning a precision instrument. You will interrogate your environment. What cues in your space encourage the best version of you to rise? Which windows of time do you sabotage with habit energy? You will prune your habits with ruthless kindness. You will support your ambitions with rituals that become second nature. And as you do this, you will feel a shift. Laziness will yield, not through struggle against it, but through conversion into a structured, beautiful system of action. We must acknowledge the world at large, the algorithms that decide what we see, the platforms that feed our appetite for novelty, the social currents that demand continuous reinvention. In this reality, the lazy mind will be the first to yield to the tyranny of the moment. The disciplined mind will become the captain who sets course and commands the crew through storms. Your master mind is your fleet, a network of diverse minds who share standards, share accountability, share the dread and the delight of building something that outlives us. When one mind breaks, another mind holds the line. When one idea falters, another idea rises with greater clarity. This is the mechanism by which your laziness becomes your greatest strength. You no longer fight it as a foe. You harness it as a partner. An ally that tells you when you are overextended. An ally that insists you rest adequately, so you may return sharper. A partner that reminds you that your energy is a finite resource, and that the most important work is the work you can do consistently, day after day, year after year. Now hear this, not as a mere slogan, but as a practice. Your life is a series of decisions, and every decision is a vote you cast for your future. Decide and then act with immediate, unambiguous momentum. If you find yourself hesitating, you are already lost in the fog of potential. If you find yourself fearing the unknown, you are surrendering your sovereignty to the rumor mill of doubt. Decide again and again and again, until the habit is unbreakable. Decisiveness is not a brittle, dramatic moment. It is a steady, stubborn rhythm of choosing what is best in the long run, regardless of the short-term discomfort. It is the willingness to say no to the tempting, easy path that gives you more of the same, and yes to the path that demands you to become more than you were yesterday. In this sedulous act of decision, your laziness discovers its new face. It becomes a springboard, not a trap, a guide, not a prison. As the days pass, you will see the world respond to your change. People will begin to ask you what you did to become so focused, so productive, so unshakable. Do not mistake their curiosity for a stamp of approval. Use it as fuel for further refinement. Let your master mind respond with its own questions, its own challenges, its own contradictions that force you to sharpen your logic and strengthen your resolve. And when the rewards come, whether in the form of a new contract, a partnership, a leap of faith from a skeptic, or a quiet inner peace, do not permit yourself to attribute the entire transformation to luck or chance. Luck is the residue of design. Chance is the crutch of the unprepared. You prepared, you designed, you persisted, you delivered, you transcended. This is the habit by which laziness becomes the ally of your most audacious dreams. In closing, let this be your vade-mecum. Turn your laziness into your greatest strength, not as a paradox, but as a paradox resolved. Let laziness be dissected and redirected, a disciplined intelligence that refuses to waste energy on worthless battles. Let your ambition be the flame that burns at the center of your chest and illuminates your path, not a single flicker that dies in the wind. Let your faith be the compass that guides your steps, even when the terrain is unknown, even when your own confidence trembles. Let autosuggestion be the daily ritual that rewires your nervous system, turning intention into instinct, dream into decision, plan into action. Let the mastermind be your orchestra and your chorus. The diverse, harmonious, rigorous voices that push you toward excellence and pull you upward with a current strong enough to carry you beyond your own expectations. Let planning be the architecture of your ascent, and let action be the bridge that connects the blueprint to the skyline. Your time is your most sacred asset. Your discipline is your most faithful servant. Your purpose is your loudest voice. If you can hold these truths in your mind and live them in your days, you will see that laziness is not your master, but your most powerful instrument. It is the raw material from which you carve steadfastness, the stubborn clay through which you mold the sculpture of your life. You will not merely conquer laziness. You will transform it into momentum, into clarity, into a definitive force that propels you toward a future that you and only you have imagined and chosen. And when the world around you, its noise, its hurry, its temptations, asks for a sign, you will point to the visible, tangible proof of your persistence. The habit you built, the relationship you strengthened, the problem you solved, the standard you raised, the life you are now living because you refused to be ruled by laziness and decided to use it as the fuel of your ascent. Now go. Begin with one audacious step that aligns with your greatest aim. Write down a single, crisp objective that would demand a new version of you. Build a microsystem that makes that objective inevitable. Gather your mastermind. Reach out to 2 people who share your seriousness and your standards, and agree on a cadence of accountability and honest critique. Design a morning ritual that forces your mind to wake before your body, to declare your intention with the power of a ritual, to rehearse your plan with the emotion of a celebration, to translate thought into action with the precision of a craftsman. Do not wait for inspiration to descend. Create your own inspiration by acting with purpose, by choosing again and again to do what matters most, by turning the ache of fatigue into the drumbeat of progress. If you do this, you will discover that laziness was not the throne of your destiny, but its moat. A barrier that protected you from the bravest dreams and the fiercest battles. But by repurposing it, you will leap beyond, and your life will testify that the greatest strength you ever possessed was the capacity to transform your most compromising trait into your most extraordinary power. If you are ready to embark, take a breath that is not a sigh, but a proclamation, and say to the universe, with the deepest confidence you can command, that you will turn this moment into the beginning of your most radiant chapter. Let your words be your weapons, your actions, your armor, your vision, your map, and your persistence, your relentlessly beating heart. Turn your laziness into your greatest strength, and let the world see what a disciplined mind, a bold will, and a heart rooted in service can accomplish when every day is a deliberate choice to become more than you were yesterday. This is the way of the modern hill, the way of the awake and the unyielding, the way of a life that does not wait for fortune, but commands it to arrive. And as you walk forward, remember, you are not chasing success. You are drawing it toward you with the gravity of a purpose, well chosen, with the velocity of a belief that will not bend, with the patience of a plan that endures beyond the moment. The lazy mind has found its master in you. And in that surrender, you have discovered your true strength, the power to create, to endure, to influence, and to rise today, now and for as long as you choose to continue with the courage of an unbreakable promise.